What's going on, guys? This is Schmackle coming back at you with another kind of a different video today. So today I wanted to share with you guys something that I've actually been working on as kind of a passion project for a little bit, actually over a year now. See, ever since Dueling Book came out, I've kind of been really into the idea of making custom archetypes as well as, like custom support for hypothetical cards that Konami could make. But what's actually even more fun than making dumb Mecha Phantom Beast cards that end on 17 interruptions is trying to make a deck that functions, is consistent with the current power level of Yu-Gi-Oh, but is also not blatantly overpowered. So that's something that is really difficult just because of the nature of problem-solving card text. You see, a lot of the times, even something as little as a misplaced comma or semicolon can be the difference between a card being okay and a card being so insanely broken that if any Konami support member would look at you and look at the card that you made, they would probably shoot you. But with that being said, I'd like to kind of show you my entry into the world of custom cards. Now, I have a lot more other than this, and if you all would like to see those as well, feel free to let me know in the comment section. This current one is probably my most fleshed out, my most creative one, and it's actually even got lore associated with it. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. So this archetype is collectively known as the Petalia. Petalia being a combination of the words petal and regalia. Their kind of big gimmick is that all of the main deck monsters, aside for a few, are considered warrior monsters. So that means that things like reinforcement of the army can search them. You can do things to make a Soul Day if you want to and go into a bit of a different route. But what they're actually trying to do is facilitate combos with their high-level plant monster deities. Now, these warriors here have all pledged fealty to these deities. There's currently 3 of them, Prince Rosary, Princess Vineyard, and Red Rose Reaper. And what they allow the warrior monsters to do is sort of borrow from their nature-esque powers in exchange for watching over their seedlings. And there is also currently 3 level 1 normal monster seedlings that go along with this deck that you do need to play if you want to build pure Petalia. You don't really have to run them if you just want to play them as an engine to make you Soul Day and do other things, but most of them do lock you into plant and or warrior monsters, so it's actually quite hard to be degenerate with these decks and these cards here. So I did try painstakingly to kind of look over what a bunch of extenders that happen to be warrior monsters would do to the current metagame. And I actually don't think there's a whole lot that would break this deck per se. So with that being said, I'm just going to go through each individual card. I'm going to give you a brief summary of their effects. And after that, I've got a nice 2-card combo to kind of give you an idea of the deck's end board. First up, we have Petalia Bluegrass Blade Master. Now, there's actually 2 level 5 plants in this deck to go along with our level 5 our rank 5 XYZ monster. Bluegrass Blade Monster and the other one both have the effect to summon themselves if you control a Petalia seedling, so one of these normal monsters here. Bluegrass Blade Master, if he's used for link material, he can target 2 Petalia monsters with different names that are in your grave and add them to your hand. The White Rose Paladin, if he's used as link material, can resummon themselves, but are banished when they leave the field, and it also allows you on summon to add the Petalia trap card, Petalia Heroism, which is kind of like a unique form of protection in a way. This card allows you to return a Petalia monster that's been targeted by a card or an effect, and then you can special summon a different one from your deck. It also allows you to circumvent the discard cost of most of the Petalia monsters, allowing you to set itself from the graveyard if you would discard this. Next up on the list, we have Petalia Citrus Shield Maiden. This is a level 1, and a little bit of a kind of an in-archetype hand trap, because every deck worth its snuff has one of those these days. This one allows you to basically reborn the Petalia monster that is destroyed by battle or card effect for the cost of 1,000 life points. It also has an effect that if it's tributed, you can target a Petalia monster and make it unaffected by monster effects. However, if you notice, all of the Petalia monsters have the clause that you can only use a single one of their effects per turn to avoid degeneracy, pretty much. Next up, probably the best card in the entire deck. This is your Playmaker, Petalia Daffodilist. So first off, if you control no plants, you can summon it from your hand for free, but you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for plants or warriors. All of the ones that do this have this clause in them. I made sure of that. If this card is normal or special, you can discard a card or tribute a plant monster, and then you get to add any Petalia spell trap card from your deck to your hand. Now again, just like all the others, you can only use one of its effects per turn, so if you special summon it, you can't then tribute a monster to add the spell. You have to normal summon it to do that. We also then have a Petalia Dandelion, which is a level 2 kind of extension play card. If you control a plant or warrior, you can special summon this card from your hand. This does not have the clause because it's meant to be an extender, not a starter. You cannot special, but it also does have the ability that if it's tributed, you can discard a card to summon 2 seedlings from your deck. So this allows you to kind of swarm the field with material for your link plays. We then have Petalia Marigoldia. This one, kind of the same thing as a Daffodilist. Marigoldia, if you control no plants, you can special summon her. Same restrictive clause, cannot special summon monsters except for plants or warriors. If she's normal or special, you can discard one or attribute a plant to add a Petalia monster from your deck to your hand. And of course, as per the rest, and this is the last time I will reiterate this, they all have the clause to say you can only use one effect per turn and only once that turn. We then also have Petalia Mooning Glory. If you control no plants, special summon it. You're hard locked into plants or warriors. If it's normal or special, you can discard one or tribute a plant to send a plant monster from your deck to the graveyard. And right after her, the one that you always want to be sending is Petalia Nectarmancer. She is a 3rd level 5, she's also a warrior, and her effect is a bit different from all the rest. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard one card or tribute a plant monster to special summon her, and then if she is special summoned, she gets to reborn a seedling from the grave as well. Next up, the second most important card in the deck by far is Petalia Perennia. She is a level 1, so you can 1-for-1 her. With the level 1 normal monsters, you can play Jack in the Hand or things like that. If she is discarded, you can special summon her from the grave and a Petalia monster with a different name from your hand. And then if she is tributed, you can make a plant monster unaffected by spell trap effects. Next up, just for a generic playmaking card, we have Petalia Poppy Seedling. Level 4 plant monster. If it's normal or special, you can special a seedling from your hand or deck. And then if it's used as link material for the link summon of a plant monster, you can shuffle as many seedlings into your deck as possible and then draw one card. Next up, we have our 3 deity type monsters here. We have Petalia Prince Rosary. All of these share the same effect that if they're in your hand, you can Prince Rosary says if you control a plant and warrior, you can special summon this card. And then if they are special summoned except by their own effect, you can tribute a Petalia monster, specifically Petalia monster, and then snatch steal an opponent's monster. These two here are the ones that have the clause that if this card is in your hand, you can discard one or attribute a plant or warrior to summon it from your hand, and then Princess Vineyard says if this card is special summoned except by its own effect, you can special summon as many Petalia seedling monsters with different names as possible from your hand, deck, or graveyard, but this one hard locks you into specifically Petalia monsters. And then lastly, we have Petalia Red Rose Reaper. Same thing, if she's in the hand, discard one or attribute a plant or warrior to special summon her. If this card is special summoned except by its own effect, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of Petalia seedling monsters you control, destroy them. So she is the double, sometimes triple pop that you need to kind of get your interruptions going on your opponent's turn. We then have the free seedlings. We have Petalia seedling Cherrybell, Petalia seedling Lilia, and Petalia seedling Orangearia. And then for a few spell and trap cards that are integral to the deck, we have Petalia Form of Yggdrasil. This is an equip spell. You can only equip to a Petalia monster. You can then send the monster equipped with this card to the grave to special a level 7 or higher Petalia monster from your deck. You cannot special summon monsters except Petalia the turn you use this effect, and you can only activate once per turn. So the main combo here is you want to have Daffodilus in your hand, you want to normal summon her, discard Perennia, and then add Yggdrasil to get your combos going. And then next up, this is a form of extension in case anything gets stopped along the way, we have Petalia Gardening Day. This one allows you to discard a card or attribute a Petalia seedling, specifically a Petalia seedling, to summon up to 2 level 5 or lower Petalia monsters with different names from your deck. Their effects are negated, also their attack and defense becomes 0. It hard locks you into Petalia monsters, and you can only activate once per turn. So this is an easy way to get Blade Master and Rose Paladin, and maybe even Nectarmancer out of the deck if you don't have a way to send her, to make your rank 5 monster Petalia Full Bloom Knight. And then lastly, the trap card, once again, it's a form of protection, allows you to return a Petalia to your hand that is targeted and special summon a different one from the deck. It also says that if you would discard a Petalia monster, you can discard this card instead. And then if it's discarded as cost to activate a Petalia monster's effect, you can set the card from the field from the graveyard to your side of the field. That's it for the main deck monsters. On to the extra deck. We have ourselves Petalia Full Bloom Knight. She is a rank 5 warrior XYZ effect with 2,000 attack, 2,300 defense. Her requirements are 2 plant and or warrior monsters, including a Petalia monster, so she is not generic. I did not want this to be a thing. As long as you control a Petalia seedling specifically, this card is treated as a plant. They also all have that clause as well. All the warrior ones, if you control a seedling, they are also considered as plants. Once per turn, as a quick effect, you can detach one, and then discard a card or attribute a plant or warrior monster you control. Send one card your opponent controls to the graveyard. Now, this is a very powerful effect. Very, very powerful. Non-targeting, non-destruction, specifically even non-banish. This sends to the grave. It's just like Dingirsu. But the thing is, to make this, you actually have to give up on several other forms of interruption, so I think this is more than fair. It also has the effect that if it is tributed, you can draw one card. And again, just like the main deck monsters, you can only use one of their effects per turn, and only once that turn. Next up, we have Petalia White Lily Empress. This is a rank 6 warrior XYZ monster with 2,700 attack and 2,400 defense. She requires free level 6 plant and or warrior monsters, and Dueling Book just crapped out on us. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, but you are not going to be summoning her by overlaying, and I will explain to you what I mean in just a second. Once per turn, quick effect, you can detach a material from this card, then discard one or tribute a plant. For the rest of the turn after this effect resolves, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in the graveyards. Also, cards in the graveyard cannot be banished or special summoned, so she's kind of like an Abyss Dweller here. And then you can only special summon her once per turn. We don't want any degeneracy of anything going on there. And as long as you control a Petalia seedling, she's also a plant monster. Next up, we have free link monsters to kind of supplement the archetype strategy. We have Petalia Queen Rosemary. This is our link 2 with 1,400 attack. She requires 2 plants or warriors, including, again, a Petalia monster to prevent her from being abused in other strategies. If she is link summoned, you can special summon Petalia seedling tokens up to the number of Petalia seedling monsters with different names used as link material for this card's link summon. And then, if you discard a Petalia card or if you tribute a plant or warrior monster, you can draw a card. So the idea with her is to make her using 2 of the seedlings, so you get 2 extra tokens. So basically, you made her for free. That's essentially the game plan here. Next up, we have Petalia White Lily Queen, kind of a sub-boss of the deck. She is a link-free monster. She's also a warrior with 2,500 attack. Her materials are 2+ plant and or warrior monsters. Petalia monsters can activate each of their effects once per turn. Now what this means is it turns off the main deck and extra deck monsters restrictions of only being able to use one of their effects per turn and only once per turn. So now, if you discard Perennia, you summon her and one from hand, and then if you tribute her, you get the spell trap protection. This is insanely powerful, guys. And also, on top of it, once per turn, when a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, you can discard a Petalia or tribute a plant monster you control, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can immediately after this effect resolves, XYZ summon one rank 6 Petalia XYZ monster using this card as XYZ material. So essentially what happens here is you can use her effect to negate a card and then summon Lily Empress and then on a new chain use her effect to blank the opponent's graveyard. So this kind of stops the play, and this stops the recovery. So these two together are a really powerful form of interruption. And then for the final true boss monster of the deck, we have Petalia Earth Mother Yggdrasil. She is a Link 4 monster that takes 2+ plant or warrior monsters, including a Petalia monster. On Link Summon, she summons all of the seedling monsters from your hand or graveyard. She gains 800 attack for each seedling monster you control, so at max she's 3,400, pretty big. And then once per turn as a quick effect, you can tribute a plant or warrior monster to special summon up to 2 level 6 or higher Petalia monsters with different names, one from your deck and one from your graveyard. You can only use one effect per turn, only once per turn, and as a bonus, as long as you control 2 or more seedling monsters, your opponent cannot target other Petalia monsters you control with card effects, so blanket protection. The ones you want to be summoning from the deck usually are either a combination of Vineyard and Rose Reaper, because Vineyard will reborn 2, and then this will allow you to pop 2 more cards with Red Rose Reaper, or if you have seedlings still available, you can use Red Rose Reaper and Prince Rosary to pop a couple cards and snatch steal a monster. So very cool there. That is it for the overview of the cards themselves. I would now like to show you all a really quick 2-card combo here. Okay, the 2-card combo is not going to work because Dueling Book is cringe. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do it live right now. I'm going to go into solo mode with my Petalia deck and sort of show you what this deck has to offer. Now, the 2-card combo that you want to be striving for in this deck specifically is always going to be Petalia Perennia and our Daffodilist. This gives you the most forms of interruption that I personally have found thus far. You want to normal summon your Daffodilist and use her effect to discard Perennia. Daffodilist will add Petalia form of Yggdrasil. Then Perennia's effect will activate, and she will special summon herself from the graveyard. You can then activate Yggdrasil, targeting your Daffodilist, and then use Yggdrasil's effect to send Daffodilist to the graveyard to summon from your deck your Princess Vineyard. Princess Vineyard, since she was not summoned by her own effect, gets to trigger here and allows you to pull all 3 of these seedling monsters out of your deck for free. Then, using 2 of the seedling monsters, the names really don't matter, you will then be summoning Petalia Queen Rosemary and activating her effect on Link Summon to make 2 Petalia seedling tokens, since you used 2 of them to make her Link Summon. You can then remove one of these and Queen Rosemary to Link Summon Petalia White Lily Queen, and then using the last 4 monsters that you have available to you, you can then Link Summon your Link 4 Big Boss, Earth Mother Yggdrasil. Her effect will activate, allowing you to summon all 3 of your seedlings back from the grave once again. And that is the end of your turn. Now, on your opponent's turn, say they activate a card. Well, we're going to use White Lily Queen here to tribute one of our seedlings and negate it, and then we're going to overlay into White Lily Empress. We're then going to, on a new chain, use her effect to detach and tribute another seedling, which will allow us to blank our opponent's graveyard. And then finally, if that's not enough, we can also use Yggdrasil's effect to do this. We will then summon our Red Rose Reaper from the deck and our Princess Vineyard from the grave, stack their effects so she goes off last, and Vineyard will summon back 2 of our seedlings, which will then allow us to pop 2 monsters, or any card, sorry, with Red Rose Reaper. That is a 2-card, 5 interruption combo with variable forms of interruption. And yeah, that is what I've discovered so far. If you guys want, all of my custom cards are available to the public on duelingbook.com. Feel free to look them up, have as much fun with them as you want. Let me know if you find anything degenerate and broken, and maybe together we can make these cards as perfect as they can possibly be. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit me with a subscribe, a like, maybe a share if you're feeling generous, and look out for more custom card videos in the future. I have a lot of ideas that I've wanted to get out for a long time, but I didn't really see a reason to until now with my YouTube channel here. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and that'll do it. Peace.